Again. There we go. So we're going to do our official start for the Get Paid from the Stage program. I'm going to wait to do introductions until Lisa joins us because I'd love for Lisa and Dorinda to get to know each other as well as you learning a little bit about Dorinda Dory. But I just want to, the first session, about the first half, we're kind of doing housekeeping. I'll show you a couple things that have to do with the program. Every time we meet, I'll go over in the very beginning what your homework's going to be for that week so that you have a sneak peek at that. Hey, Lisa,
Hey there.
how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to apologize in advance. I am watching over a 4-year-old at the same time, so I'm going to be on mute. I just turned on Minions, so we should be good for a while.
Oh, you're fine. And I was just sharing with Dory and Dorinda. Dorinda's actually gone through the program before. I'll tell you a little
Oh,
bit about
nice.
that in a moment. But super casual. So do what you got to do.
Okay.
I may or may not have makeup on next week. I did it special for today. So hey,
Well, thank you.
you're welcome. We come as we are. So over the I was just sharing with them over the 6 weeks, we will really be digging into content, building your speaker package, um, really getting to know each other in the cohort. Every cohort's different. I love doing these because the questions and the conversations always change. I have the same content package, but depending on the direction you all want to take the conversations, it'll kind of have its own personality, if you will. I am insanely open, and so I just want to give you all a little sneak preview. I'm going to talk about money. You can ask me any questions you have. I'll tell you how much money I've made in speaking this year. I actually looked it up so I could share that with you. I'll tell you how much I'm booking for gigs. I'll tell you anything you want to know. And particularly, I'll say for women in general, I think we don't talk about money enough. And it's the only way I'm going to be able to help you get paid for the stage. So I know, take a deep breath if like you were raised that talking about money was rude, because y'all, we are going to be talking about money. The other thing is before I do intros, and actually, Lisa, Dory did intros for Dorinda and I went ahead and had her do that because, I know that you know her. And so you wouldn't be missing anything. Before I jump into the content, I just want to share with you a bit about me and my speaking experience. So I've been an entrepreneur now full time for, gosh, I think it's 7 years. I grew up in corporate, had a corporate gig, loved it. Worked for a large global company and had started building on the side because I loved speaking. Started building a business, and speaking ended up being part of that business. Came in one morning from my corporate gig to an email with a video from the new CEO that said, I'm the new guy in town. You had a different CEO Friday, you got a new one on Monday, and shit's going to change around here. And I thought, holy crap. I was in a shared services type of a department, change management. And so I knew that he was probably going to end up outsourcing that eventually. And so I started building my business. And I did that by writing down all of the things I love doing and thinking about how could I build a business around the things that just made my heart sing. And speaking was one of those things. What I will tell you is I beat my head against the wall for about 5 or 6 years trying to figure out how to actually get paid for it. People would tell me, oh, this is great exposure and you can do this and you can do that. And everybody wants you to speak for free. And one of my favorite things that I'll tell emerging speakers now is I'm pretty sure if I went to the dentist and he said, you need a root canal. And I said, I'll tell you what, why don't you do it for free? And I'll tell my friends how great you are. He would probably tell me I wasn't getting a root canal. And so it's kind of my approach now to speaking. It's like, got to pay the bills, y'all. And we are delivering incredible value. And so I was working with a woman who is a business coach, and She said to me, you need to build a program to teach other people how to do that because there are a lot of people out there going through the same thing. So that's what I've done. In this 6 weeks, I will share with you all of the mistakes I made as I was building my speaking career, the things I still struggle with, and the things that I have found that absolutely 100% work. So that's me. That's a bit about my background. We learned a little bit about Dory. And so thank you, Dory, for sharing your background with us. Lisa, do you mind sharing with Dorinda and I and Dory, who already knows you well, a little bit about you and your background?
Yes, I originally started as a teacher, and then I had an opportunity to start my own business. I was very much into messaging and copywriting, but the more I got into it, the more I realized people, my clients, didn't know how they differed from others in the industry. They didn't know how to stand out in the marketplace. And so that's when I really went deep into personal branding to help people understand what's their uniquely compelling quality and how can they talk about it. And then finally, what's their purpose and their impact in the world. So now what I love doing is working with service providers to help them figure that out. A lot of times they've left corporate and their identity would be the bullets in their former job description. So I help them know who they are, how to stand out, and what to say when they do. And I've got a new direction in my business. I don't think Dory's even quite in tune with this. But if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll see it says bringing humanity back to business. I really believe in 2025, you can no longer just show up as an expert, that we have to bring our humanity back to be able to connect to do business. So I'm excited to do this program because I'm writing a book and I want to be able to speak from the stage on that.
I love that. So
Yes,
great. Thank you for that, Lisa.
you're
Dorinda,
welcome.
so Dorinda's actually been through the program before. So that's one of the things about Get Paid from the Stage. Once you've gone through, I always offer to anyone who's gone through before, if I have open seats, you can come in and do a refresh. I've had a lot of people do that because something might have changed in their business life, the way that they're building their brand, the way they're building their business. They may have gone through the Get Paid from the Stage for one topic and have a completely different topic they've got to build a package on. So I had one gentleman that went through on the topic of leadership. And then he said, hey, I went through a weight loss journey and I really want to put together a package on weight loss journey. And I'm like, cool. So he went through again. So you do have the option of doing that, and Dorinda is exercising that option, and I would love for her to introduce herself.
Hi. As Carla said, I went through it before. I experienced it as trying to get a sip of water from a fire hydrant. It's a lot, and you'll get tremendous value. Um, so much value that I didn't quite sponge it all up. And so I'm a remedial repeater. But also because when I went through before, I had a full-time gig. I was really busy. I couldn't do the homework. I no longer have a full-time gig as of May 1st. I'm a free agent and still working for the company that told me to take a hike. They want me to come back as a contractor. So that's kind of nice. I've got a soft launch there, but looking for what's next and trying to decide if there's really what's next, or is what next really full-time retirement? I don't know. So I'm going to figure that out. Get Paid from the Stage does tremendous, you'll get tremendous insights into getting paid from the stage, but you'll also get tremendous insights into you and a little bit of what you were saying, Lisa, a little bit about what your value is and being able to articulate that in a way that focuses on the client, not just, reciting my resume to people when I meet them, right? So I'm meeting them where they are. I'm super excited to be here. It's a lot of work. I'll tell you that going into it. And to get the value, do the homework. That's my coaching to you. you didn't ask, but I gave it to you anyhow because I didn't do the homework the first time. And so I already told Carla, I said, my intention is to do more of the homework. Notice I said more of. But yeah, it's she'll ask you to create certain products, and I'm telling you, they're worth the effort. And to get her insights and her feedback on them is invaluable. So my background, I'm an engineer. I've worked in technology most of the time. Most recently, I've worked for a change management organization, helping organizations and individuals deal with change. And now I get to apply that to my own life. It's easier to talk about others and teach them than it is to do it myself. So I'm looking forward to getting to know each of you better. And we got, what is it, 9 weeks together?
Six
6 weeks
weeks.
together.
Yeah, it
All
felt
righty.
like 9 weeks. That's what she's trying to tell
Well,
you.
I'm doing 3 classes simultaneously. So I'm doing this one. I'm doing one on um, artificial intelligence. And the third one I'm doing is and that's the reason I was confused, is a 9 week evening program on brain-based coaching, the neuroscience of coaching. So there you have it.
It's a lot. Well, thank you so much for all those kind thoughts about the program, Brenda. I love doing this. It's a huge passion of mine. I love helping people get paid for the value that they're delivering. So a little bit about the program. It will last an hour to an hour and a half on Saturdays. It kind of depends on how many questions everybody has. When we're done, we're done. So I won't keep you past where we're adding value. And I'm happy to stay on and answer questions or, feel free to ask questions as we go through. If you have any questions throughout the program, email me. You can, DM me on LinkedIn. Just reach out. I'm more than happy to jump on a call, walk you through anything, answer any questions that you have. The replay will be up by end of day Sunday every week. Usually I get it up on Saturday, but if you don't see it Saturday, it'll definitely be there by Sunday. And I want to make sure, has everybody logged on to the program page? Have you seen the program? So I'm going to pop the link in chat because I'm going to show you the program page next. You don't need to log in at this moment, but before we conclude, I'd love for you to click on that link, make sure you get logged in and you can see the program page because that is where all of the content drops. The other thing for you to know is I have 0 PowerPoints for y'all. So we're going to talk. I'm going to show you things. I'm going to walk you through homework deliverables, things like that. But I'm not going to do a PowerPoint for you. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen because I want to show you the program page, what you're going to see when you log on, and I want to walk you through a few things on the program page and then talk to you about a little bit about the Facebook group and how we use that. So, and feel free to come off mute and talk to me, y'all. Don't feel like you gotta like raise your hand or just talk to me. So when you log into the program page, this is what you're gonna find. When you scroll down, you can see these buttons here. There is now clickable content in the guides and templates, the examples, and bonus. And I'm going to walk you through all of this because this is all of the content for today. This is where this image is going to change and I'll add our video recording for today. This content for the following weeks is going to always update on Friday. So right now, these are not clickable links. On Friday, the content's going to look just like these buttons and you'll be able to access it. You don't need to access it in advance, but if you're someone who really kind of likes to see what's coming, you can access each of the weeks in the following week. High level, in week 1, we are really just getting started. Today, we're going to talk about building your speaker package. We're going to talk about starting to think about what does that keynote portfolio, especially your first signature talk, look like. And you're going to create a one sheet this week. And I'm going to show you what that is. You've got a template, so we're going to walk through all of that. Week two, we really begin to think about that keynote note portfolio. So you're going to build a proposal for one talk next week and one piece of digital supporting content. Not going to go through all the examples and the bonuses right now, just kind of want to give you a preview of the weeks that are coming up. In week three, you build your stage package. And so you're going to build bios, you're going to build your speaker intro, and you're going to begin thinking about your speaker reel. And I'm going to give you some low cost ways that you can get that built, things that typically work for a first speaker reel. In week four, we're going to dig into money, pricing. How do you price your talk? What's additional value you can ask for? One of the huge mistakes I made early on is I left tons of value on the table because I didn't know to ask for it. And I don't want that to happen to you. And additional resources, that's how we're going to sell without selling from the stage. So we'll get into that. In week five, you get a calls for speakers spreadsheet. I work really hard scouring the internet to make sure I can get you at least 100 calls for speakers that you can go apply for. And so you'll get that on week five. And we're going to talk about just different approaches, how calls for speakers work, other ways that you can get speaking gigs. And then in week six, we wrap it all up. We talk about how to be one of my key things you'll hear me say throughout is I always tell organizers, I'm going to be the easiest speaker you've ever worked with. And that really resonates with event professionals. I'm going to talk to you about what does that mean? How do we become the easiest speaker you've ever worked with? I have a learn from my mistakes guide, which is actually full of stuff I did. And so I'll give you a little sneak preview. Uh, do not wear a black top with a white bra under it because when the stage lights hit you, if y'all are old enough to remember what a black light looks like, when you get your film from standing on stage, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I was basically standing there with my bra on in front of 400 people. So it's little things like that that you may or may not think about. Another thing that I didn't do well when I first started speaking on the stage is I didn't ask what color the curtain was. So, like, I might wear a black dress. Well, I get there and it's a black curtain and I'm a floating head on the stage. And so, really thinking about, what are some things that are going to help me pop and I'll just tell y'all all the stuff I did wrong so you don't have to repeat that. And then you will get an invoice template. One of the bonuses I give you is a contract you can use. I'm finding more and more people are asking me for contracts. Another cool thing that happens is in either week five or week six, and it looks like it's going to be week six, this cohort, Ann Neville joins us. So Ann Neville is an event professional and she hires speakers. It's really interesting. We say a lot of things the same. We do have some differences in what we think and how we are looking at uh, our approaches. But what I love about Anne is she's going to share with you like things like, hey, this one speaker was great without names. I'll never hire that person again, and here's why. And so, and she'll also tell you like what gets her attention, what doesn't get her attention. And so it's just a whole nother way to look, and she'll answer all of your questions. So that's really how the weeks are going to break out. So I just want to kind of pause here. Thoughts about the content that's coming up, questions that you have at least initially. Anything coming up for you?
I like all the inside behind the scenes scoop.
Yeah, well, it's been learned painfully, Lisa, I will tell you. So yeah, and like I said, open book. So any questions you have, please, please, please ask them. I will literally answer anything. The other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is Get Paid from the Stage Facebook group. So y'all are here, which is fantastic. And you can see there's 37 members. So the only people that are in here are people who've been through the program. So all of these people have been through. One really cool thing about being in the Facebook group is when I create a new calls for speakers, I will always drop it here. So what that means is, my next cohort starts in November. So, and I drop it in the fifth week. So the last week of November, I'll drop the new get pay or calls for speaker spreadsheet so y'all can grab it and use it. And so the other thing that's cool is people will, I put your welcome notes in here. This is me saying, hey, does anybody want to jump in on the refresh? But you'll just see, there's some interactions. I'll share my thoughts here. People will share their speaker reels for feedback. So this is a place that you can come with other speakers, interact, get feedback. And it's not a super active community, but it's a very, very cool community. And people are very kind and helpful when you ask for help. The other thing is you'll actually be posting your homework in here. So you'll be downloading your content from Canva in PDF format. Please do not post a link in here because that takes them to your Canva, but download it as a PDF. And when you do, please tag me so that I get a notification. I will go look for it, but if you'll tag me, that will be super helpful. And then I'll give you feedback. And a lot of times our get paid from the stage folks will give you feedback as well, which I think is super valuable. And y'all give feedback to each other because I always say this, feedback is like, um, imagine that we went to Nordstrom's all together because we had a big event to go to, and the stylist is going to hang all these clothes in our dressing room. It's our job to try it on, see what fits our brand, the event, what we're comfortable in, what we feel good in, and only leave with that. And I feel the same way about feedback. I'm going to hang a bunch of feedback in your feedback dressing room, and you should only take what fits, what makes sense, what resonates with your brand. And someone else may have different feedback, that you're like, oh no, I think I actually really like that. So just know that this is a super kind, supportive group, and I'm going to cruise down to where I've given feedback because I want to just give you guys a warning. Okay, so when I give feedback, it's a lot. Um, I feel like it is my job. Try not to like go crazy here because people have been posting more than I thought. Um, okay, I'm just gonna tell you, it's a lot, y'all. I really go through every section. I'll say, consider this, think about that. I would do this. And then you decide what you want to incorporate. Um, any questions or thoughts about the Facebook group, how we use it, what you can expect there? Just kind of pause there. No, okay, good deal. So let's do this. Let's take a look at what is included in week one. So I do want to give you a sneak peek at your homework. So for this next week, I want you to loosely decide what you want your speaker business to look like. We're going to talk a little bit more about this. You've got a guide. It is your speaking business guide. There's tons of ideas in there. I just want you to think for like the next 6 months to a year. Where do you want to focus? What do you want the business to look like? And start, if you haven't already created a talk, and I will say I've had people take this that are not doing talks or doing workshops. Fine, then think about your workshop. What do you want your workshop to look like? And just really dig in and think about what's it going to be about? What are the key takeaways going to be? What kind of short, and I mean very short stories, can you tell that are going to kind of bring people along that journey? And then if a kind of bonus is think about a title, a working draft of a title. What's going to create curiosity? The one thing I'll tell you about a title is this. Your event organizer needs to read that title and go, ah, my people really need that. That is exactly what I'm looking for. One of my favorite sayings is if you're not turning anybody off, you're not turning anybody on. When I talk to speakers that are new and I'll say, well, who's your talk for? And they're like, oh, it's for everybody. I'm like, then nobody's interested. And that's just the facts. Somebody needs to read your talk title and your proposal and go, that's not for me. Because if they don't, no one is going to look at it and say, man, I really need that. Right. And so don't be afraid to turn some people off. I used to be terrified of posting something and having somebody hate on it or saying, oh, yeah, I'm doing this in my business and having someone go, oh, God, why would you do that? Now I love it. I love it. The more I get, oh, man, I wouldn't do that. I think, cool, because somebody else is going to love it. And then you are going to the biggest deliverable. So those are kind of thinking, deciding, beginning the frameworks 1 through 3. Number 4, you're going to start a working draft of your speaker one sheet. So that we are going to dig into in a lot more detail. Um, the this bullet is your speaker package content. So this is all the things we're going to build. So if you're like, I don't know quite sure what we're going to do, you can pull down this guide. This is the guide I was talking about, the Building Your Speaker Business Guide that's going to have all kinds of ideas in it. This is your Keynote Portfolio Guide. Just review this and begin thinking about, you may want to jot some things down, starting that working title. We're going to get into this. We're actually using that same guide, the Keynote Portfolio Guide, next week. So before I jump into the speaker one sheet, I do want to talk a little bit more about thinking about your speaker business and thinking about the keynote you're going to put together. Then I'll spend some time showing you that one sheet, how you're going to fill it out. I always give you examples. Before I do that, though, I do want to just pause and ask, does anybody have any questions so far?
So I have a question about
Yeah,
thinking about your speaker business. Are you going to
yeah.
get into that, or is now the time to ask that? You're
Yeah, I
going,
am going to get into
okay,
that.
then I'm going to pause. Okay.
Okay, you're good.
Uh,
And you guys can stay off mute if you want. You can just like,
yeah.
can be a conversation. So totally up to you. So when you're thinking about your speaker business, I want you to think about what are the kind of speaking opportunities you want to look for first. So I'll give you a couple of examples. You might say, I really want to hit the keynote stage. You may think, you know what, I kind of want to do some workshop first, or I want to target breakout sessions at a conference where you're not on the big stage, but maybe there's 6 concurrent sessions and yours is one of them they're going to choose from. There's lunchtime presentations, there's corporate presentations, ERGs, which is employee resource groups. Most big companies have ERGs, so it might be their women's resource group, it might be a young professionals resource group. There's all types of resource groups. The other thing that I'll share with you is, y'all, there are all types of businesses and associations that desperately need speakers, and they struggle to find them. They struggle to find them within the topic they're looking for or within the budget that they're looking for. Lisa, your cat is killing me. What is the cat's name? Because apparently the cat is going to be a participant and get paid from the stage.
Well, I have two circling around because I've been here all week making turkey sandwiches, so they think I'm getting the turkey out. This one's Nala, and then the other one will be Luna.
Oh my gosh, they're so cute. Um, but yeah, so so when you think about it, there's conferences and events, right? Those kind of naturally come to mind. But there's corporate conferences, summits, events. There's association conference, summits, events. Most associations also have like ongoing education. So you can look on their website and see what kind of education they offer. Small, medium businesses, they need training programs, employee development. Um, the thing that and like Chamber of Commerce, right? Community events, colleges and universities. Think about all of the organizations around you that could be looking for speakers. The one thing I'll tell you about associations, depending on the size of the association, they tend to have pretty decent budgets. Smaller associations may not. And the mistake that I see speakers make, and it's so funny because I'll have people who've gone through the program call me and say, I'm really, I'm going to make it up. Because I have a talk on critical thinking. I have a talk on critical thinking, and I'm having a really hard time finding events that are focused on critical thinking and leadership where I can submit. Here's what I'll tell you. I have had the biggest success putting in my talks and reaching out to event organizers that have nothing to do with the topic I'm talking about because most conferences are looking for professional development, mental health, employee wellness, uh, branding, all of those things. So I'll give you a perfect example. 2 years ago, I was doing my October cohort and I had the calls for speakers. And anytime I deliver the calls for speakers, I always go out and submit calls for speakers. The thing about calls for speakers that kind of sucks is it's a slog. It is a lot of work and you typically get 1 to 2%. It's a low hit rate. And it's still worth it because this is part of how you build your brand. And I actually have a trick now that helps me get booked more often that I'll share when we get to calls for speakers. But I grabbed, not even kidding, the ISSA conference off the list. Y'all, this is a cleaning products association. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to submit these 3 talks. So 2 weeks later, I get an email from ISSA. And one of the tricks is it's the ISSA show. So it's huge. And they said, we're really interested in your change management presentation. How much do you charge? And I thought, oh, this is going to be the end of it because there's no way they're paying me 10 grand for a breakout. And they're not putting me on the big stage, but I'm not traveling to Chicago from Phoenix for $1.50 and a Coke. So I wrote back and said $10,000 plus 2 nights stay at the hotel. And they sent me back a contract. I signed it. And I flew to Chicago and made $10,000 doing a breakout. Not even kidding. And it had nothing to do with my topic. So I'm going to tell you apply, apply, apply. It, they are hungry for somebody that's not going to tell them how to clean a damn floor, y'all. They get that for 3 days. Spray this, use that. Oh, have you seen my new buffer? And oh, change management. That sounds awesome. I think I need a break from the topic du jour. So, associations are a great way to get your kind of speaking chops under you, get out there, meet people, and make some money doing it. Um, the other thing to think about is who is looking for speakers? Who is in your network who might be looking for speakers? You know, somebody in corporate, they probably know an employee resource group that brings in speakers. A lot of times those are virtual. I've gotten paid anywhere from $250 to $1,000 to come in and deliver a virtual 1 hour. Is $250 a ton of money? No. But you know what? It's more than I was going to make for the hour. And I'm meeting people. They might bring me in for their corporate event. Um, Meeting planners, obviously, anything with event professional or association executives in learning, human resources professionals, nonprofits love to bring in speakers. Um, and they have a little bit more money than you might think they do. So typically I get, so my speaker fee, I go in at 10 to 15K. Nonprofits, I typically get about 7, sometimes 5. I'm fine if it's 5 and it's local, but we'll get into pricing more in week 4, but it just kind of gives you a little thing to think about. Um, and then nonprofit board members is another way. If you know anybody that's on a nonprofit board or a paid board. Speakers bureaus and placement services, typically I don't go that route because what I find is they don't have any interest in me until I'm consistently booking 15, $20,000 gigs. And if I'm booking 15, $20,000 gigs, I don't really need a speakers bureau. So kind of not my way to go. The other thing I want you to think about in building your speaker business, this is the such a ridiculous mistake that I made in the beginning. I did a talk in New Orleans. It was for about 400 women. It was the PPAI, which is the Professional Products Association. And they loved it. They loved it. I mean, the energy was high. Afterwards, I had probably had 20 women come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, I learned so much. How else can I work for you? What can I buy from you?" Y'all, I had nothing. No book, no workshop, no membership. I got nothing. So I'm going, "Oh, I'm so glad you liked it. I have nothing for you to buy from me, but thank you for asking." So don't do that. Think about your speaker business in advance. What can you include to sell after the talk? Never, never sell from the stage. I'm going to show you how to sell after the talk. But what is it? Is it a program? Is it a membership? Is it consulting? Is it an online course? Do you have a mastermind group? Do you have videos that you can, uh, package up and sell? But after the talk, when people walk up to you, don't be like Carla. Um, when they say, "How else can I work with you?" What does that look like? And even if you just have one thing, I'm fine with that because we're gonna create a document where you say, "Hey, here's some free things, connect with me on LinkedIn. Maybe you have a Facebook group. Maybe you're on Instagram. Maybe you have a blog. Here's some free ways. And if you want more, here's how you can work with me, or here's what I have to offer." So when I talk about building your speaking business, that's what I want you to be thinking about this week. Think about what kind of speaking opportunities do you want to start with? What kind of events are going to have those type of speaking opportunities? Who are you going to target that could be looking for you? And what are you going to have available so when they want more, you've got more? So, those are the things I want you to start thinking about as it relates to building that business. Any questions about that or thoughts?
I I think for myself right now, the thought of it all is a little overwhelming, to be
Yes.
honest, because it is so big. And so I I'm not someone that's looking at this as the possibilities are limitless or limited, but limitless. And
Yeah.
that's overwhelming for me to go, where do I even start? So I'm looking forward to diving into this a little bit more with you.
Well, the guide's going to help. And what I would say is don't think about what's it going to be like in 10 years. Just like over the next 6 months, what do I want to do? Maybe I want to target a couple of ERGs, you know, see if I can get on a couple of video calls. Maybe I don't have anything else to sell right now, and that's okay. Or maybe you have your additional offerings and it's hypnotherapy, right? And that's just a one pager. And here's how you can find me. And I'm going to reach out to these 5 people I know in corporate to see if their ERGs might be interested in bringing me in. It can be that simple. But the reason I share the breadth of it is I didn't think of any of these things. All I wanted to do was get on the stage, and I did. And I did not have any of it in place, and I didn't have any plans on where it might go next. So that's why I said, try not to get overwhelmed by it because it's a lot, but just begin thinking about for the next 6 months to a year, what might it look like? And what do I know I probably need to build in later? And it will grow with you. because people will ask you for things. Dorinda,
Yeah, what is your opinion as we're getting started? Because we're not going to start with a $15,000 gig, most likely.
probably not.
What's your thought of getting on someone's podcast as
Love it. Yeah, love, love, love podcasts. Actually, that's how Lisa and I met. I've been on her podcast twice, which is kind of fun. We're going to build a speaker one sheet this week. Next week, your bonus is build a podcast one sheet. And I've got a framework for you. You can fill out the things you can talk about on a podcast. I may have even sent it to Lisa when I got on the second time. I don't remember, but um, uh, the introductory email, and Lisa, you can tell me, yeah, I would like that, or I would change this when you're sending to a podcast host. But podcasts are a fantastic way to get out, share your expertise, and get your name out there. Most of the time, as much as I hate to say this, you are going to probably do some free gigs first.
Mhm.
They might be Zoom gigs, they might be in-person gigs. You might be able to get, $1,000, $250 for a Zoom ERG presentation. Here's the thing, ERGs really struggle to get speakers because they don't have much of a budget. So if you've got some valuable content and let them know what your ERG fee is, there's a really good chance that they're going to want to bring you in. When it comes to like keynotes and things like that, I do recommend you go in at 5 grand. And then we'll talk in week 4 about what that pricing variable is, some things to think about, some ways to augment that. But I mean, you could submit to the ISSA. Here's what's weird about it. And I would say everybody go submit to the ISSA. I think they're open now. I've got it on my spreadsheet. But they never interviewed me, which I thought was really weird. I never had a conversation with a single event organizer. They simply sent me the contract. I flew in, I made $10,000. But it was a huge show, so they didn't have time to interview everybody. That's not normal, and it can happen. Other thoughts or questions about, and we're going to talk about the talk next, but just beginning to think about building that speaker business.
I'm curious, Carla. You can tell I've been on Instagram when I ask this question. Is according to the ads that there is a shortage of female speakers. Is that correct?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that
Um,
was a sales pitch.
yeah, it's a sales pitch. What I will say is more and more events are looking for diversity. And so there was a time when it would be mostly men on stage, to the point that I have been asked by event organizers when we talk, and I'll get into all that later. I always recommend a review talk before you go so you know their audience, what are their problems, what's maybe language that's going to resonate more with them. I have been asked by event organizers to edit my slides to include more images of men for some of the topics. Now, some of them are already 50-50. Some of them tend to have more images of women. And my response is absolutely, as long as you're having the same conversation with the men that are going to present at the conference. And usually I get a, huh? I'm like, just to make sure that there's equal representation in the slides the men are presenting, I'll be happy to do it. And it doesn't usually happen, right? So I would say, depending on the conference, if it's a professional conference or a corporate conference, you typically have more men speakers. It's not that there's a shortage of women speakers. It's just it's life in corporate. But yeah, there are a ton of women speakers out there looking for work. There's no shortage.
I just know we like to talk, so I couldn't imagine we wouldn't be.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So don't get overwhelmed by this piece. Think about what you want it to look like in 6 months to a year, and then maybe jot some notes down on after a year. What would be ideal? What does ideal look like for you? When you're thinking about your talk, and now remember this week, you're just going to think, kind of jot down some notes. I've got a whole section on keynote, right? So just think about what's your expertise, you know? What results do you get that someone else is going to want? The thing I will tell you is the most impactful talks and the ones that event organizers want to buy are the ones that offer a transformation. They offer a transformation, they offer steps, they offer a framework. There's something I'm going to go take away and do differently. Every one of my talks has that in it. The biggest mistake I made in the beginning is I tried to pack too much in. And the as my speaker fees went up, so I started, to Dorinda's point, I started at like 2 grand, you know, and then went up to five and then went up to 10. Every jump up until the point I got to 15, I thought, oh, I got to pack more stuff in there. I got to give them that much value. That is not that is not true. That is not only not true, it can't be consumed. It's like Dorinda said, drinking from a fire hose. So when I say a transformation, I just mean they just want to get one step here, you know, they want to get, one step to where you are, one step to what your experience has been works. So think about what transformation are you offering your audience and what are the two or three key things that they're going to learn. I love it when you put a little bit of your story in, not too much, but enough for them to see that transformation or see that you know what you're talking about. And then just think about who's the ideal person that's actually sitting in your audience. Now, there have been times, so I have a talk called Is Your Inner Critic Designing Your Future? And I always thought that's kind of a woman's talk, right? And I got brought into an event, delivered the talk. It was a mixed audience. And the men are the one that came up to me like, oh my gosh, I really needed that. That was so helpful. And I was like, oh, it just surprised me. So think about who your ideal person is sitting out there and don't be surprised if you've got them plus and your message is resonating more. But I want you to really hone in. Remember, if you're not turning anyone off, you're not turning anyone on. So who are you going to turn on, basically? Um, and then I want you to just begin thinking about talk titles. Next week, you're going to create your proposal. You're actually going to write up what you're going to talk about, and you're going to have your key takeaway bullets. So I don't want you to go there yet. I just want you to begin to think about what is it you want to talk about? What is your workshop about? And what's the title going to be? What's something that's really going to create curiosity that your audience is going to look at that and go, ooh, I need that, right? And so, what could that title look like? And I'll give you some coaching and recommendations on what I would do based on the titles, the initial titles that you come up with. Your choice. You can pop them in the Facebook group or you can just write them down on a paper. Next week, we'll talk about, hey, what were the talk titles you came up with? And kind of brainstorm around some things that might make it resonate more. One of the things that I find resonates really well is questions. So, like I said, is your inner critic designing your future is one that gets people's attention. Or titles that are really descriptive in what they're going to learn. So just be thinking about what might that look like. And y'all, AI and Google can be your best friends, right? What would be some great top talk titles for? And put a paragraph in, and you'll get a long list if you go to ChatGPT or Claude AI, and then take what resonates, take some words you like, and play around with that a little bit. Um, we're just going to focus this 6 weeks on one single talk. Over time, you're going to build a bigger portfolio. I probably have 15 or 20 talks at this point. I started with one talk, and you're going to start with one talk too. And what you'll find is that one talk will likely morph into other very similar talks. And so just be thinking about what is that one talk. And if you start to feel like it's getting too big, pare it down and say, second half will be my second talk. This is the first talk I'm working on. So as you think about the homework, which is to loosely define what your talk's going to be about and create a draft title, what questions do you have? Oops, you're on mute there, Dory.
I was going to ask you what your opinion was on AI, so I'm glad that you said that. I use it a lot for a lot of different things. And being able to think of that's where I find sometimes I get a little stuck as well as that creative juice of getting something that's kind of grabs you. And what I think is kind of quirky and funny and kind of like it's not necessarily what other people are going to find. It's not going to turn them on what may turn me on. And I have to remember that because my audience is, younger than I am. I have to be careful with what I reference.
Yeah, I think, and remember, quirky is good. I love quirky. And if there's a subset of the young people that do not like it, fan freaking tastic. Because that means there's a subset that are gonna love it. And I do use AI. I will say this about AI, the more of you put into it, the better it is. And so I have written full pages for what I need a very short paragraph for and said, I need a 5 line paragraph in conversational style. Here's all the stuff I kind of need. So if you're going to use AI, put as much of you into it as you can, and you'll get the best results.
Thank you.
Perfect. Lisa, Dorinda, any questions before we move on?
I don't think so. Um, I'm thinking about examples you've given in future sessions, and I don't want to
You
open
can,
a Christmas gift before it comes out from under the tree.
you're so cute. You can share anything you want to share. It does
Well,
not, we
one of the
don't.
things that Carla shared with us is a talk title, and it stuck with me. And one of them was a woman had a talk title, if I recall the example correctly, that was how to start your own small business. And boring, right? And she came back and she said the new talk title was it starting a new business with a baby on your hip?
Yeah, how to start a business with a baby on your hip.
I mean, same talk, but it was like, ooh, that will appeal to a lot of people and get things going. So when you were talking about title, that popped in mind. So
No, I love that. And here's the funny thing about that. How to start a business with a baby on your hip. Whether you have a baby or not,
yeah,
sometimes it's like, ooh, that's somebody that doesn't have much time. I don't have much time. I resonate with that.
yeah,
But how to start a business is like, yeah, wah,
yeah.
wah, wah. 50,000 people are talking about how to start a business. Like, how is this any different? The other thing I'll share with you, and it goes along with when you're thinking about building your business and what your talk's going to be about and being unique, that this is one of the biggest mistakes speakers make. They think they have to appeal to everybody, and they're very resistant to being unique, to being, somebody that a bunch of people aren't going to like the topic. Associations will pay more for associations, corporations, event organizers will pay more money for a specialist. They will pay more money for someone who is niche down. I always give this example. Y'all, if I get a leak in my roof, I could call a handyman to come fix it for $1,500 or a roofer for $5,000. Guess what? I'm calling a roofer because I really want that leak to get fixed and I want it to be done well. And a roofer knows what he's doing. And a roofer has done this and learned the lessons and has the experience. It's no different with speaking. You will make more money as a speaker when you own your expertise, when you niche down, and you have content that people don't want. You have content that one event organizer is going to go, no, that's kind of not for us. Cool. Because somebody else is going to go, that's what I need. She's the expert. I am willing to give her 5, 10, 15 grand to come in because we need that. It's the same with the roofer. You don't want the handyman. And y'all don't want to be the handyman speaker. You don't want to apply, you know, appeal to everybody, right? So, um, all right, I am going to share my screen again because now we're going to talk about the next part of your homework, which is to build your speaker one sheet. I just kind of want to pause here. Has everybody clicked on the link to make sure that you can get to the program page? So Lisa's in, Dory's in, Dorinda, are you in?
I can get in. I was
Yeah,
in the last time.
Dorinda can get in. She knows how. She also can call me. So, and y'all can call me too. All right, let's take a look at the homework for this week. I'll say the big deliverable for this week. So I'm going to share my screen here. And it is this. It is the speaker one sheet. Now, before I show you the speaker one sheet, it is built in Canva. I know Lisa has a Canva subscription, and I had asked her about Dory, and she said, "Oh yeah, Dory will have a Canva subscription too." So I'm going to show you that in a minute. But first, I want to show you the examples, and I want to share with you a couple of ways that I use this so you can keep that framework in mind. If you don't get your speaker one sheet 100% built out this week, please do not stress about it. It's my job to give you the deliverables to work on. It may take you a couple of weeks to get it all the way complete. And I change mine all the time. Every time I do one of these classes and I bring up my example, I'm like, oh, I kind of need to change that. One thing I do want to share with you, I have created bonuses for many of the weeks, and usually they're born out of somebody needed something, and so I created it. So I do have a Canva bundle for you. If you're not familiar with downloading a PDF and uploading it to Facebook, I've got instructions here. I have um, Canva PDF instructions here, how to actually PDF it. This is how to upload it to Facebook. The bundle, if you press on this button, it's actually going to take you to a um, a different page where I created for a membership that I have a recording on how to, I was a little bit younger, a recording on how to use Canva. So it's about 45 minutes long. And then there are some guides. So if you need any, a refresh, or you want to pull down some of the guides or look at the quick tips, this is here for you as a, hold please, I have to get back to that page. This is here for you as a bonus. You're certainly not required to, well, this is just great. Hang on. Let me get back to Canva or back to my page. Where did that take me? Oh, that's so weird. I clicked, oh, there it is. Um, so it's here if you need it. You're more than welcome to use that. So that is the bonus here. Now, I want to show you a couple of examples of what your one sheet might look like. And I have my example, I have multiple versions also of my one sheet that I use for different things. But I'll show you mine. First, I want to show you a student example. So this is Sarah. Sarah went through the program. Sarah is a yoga instructor, and she just did not have a lot of speaking experience. And so you'll see when I pull up my speaker one sheet down here in the lower right-hand corner, I have some icons, some logos from companies I've spoken at. Well, Sarah doesn't have that. So Sarah put her logo down here. She also wasn't quite sure what her rates were going to be, so she kept this blank. And this is what I recommend, that you have 1 to 3 speaking topics that you can speak on. If you're thinking, oh, I don't really have three, you can have one and detail it out. Here's the other thing, y'all. I'm going to tell you that you want to sell your talk before you build it. So if you just have an idea on the things you could talk about, go ahead and put it here with a one or two lines. This is meant to build curiosity with your event organizer. One of the other mistakes I made when I first started my speaker business is before I went out and tried to sell anything, I built the talk. I built the proposal. I built the PowerPoint deck. I put the speaker notes in. I created the guides. And guess what? Nobody bought it. So, what a waste of time. So, instead, now I will say, here are my topics. Here's the top title. Here's two or three lines. And then I'll even build a proposal before I build the talk. Then, if someone buys it, it's going to be probably a minimum of 6 weeks before I'm going to have to deliver it. If it's a conference or event, more like 6 months to a year. So it's still within my wheelhouse. I can now build it and deliver it. So Sarah hadn't created any of these talks. She's just like, well, here's some three things I could talk about. Um, we're going to talk about the bio here in just a little bit. And then you can see she's got her contact information. Um, she's got your one yoga class away from a good mood. She did correct the spelling, by the way. Made that
Oh,
apostrophe
good.
R-E.
Thank
Yes.
you for that.
Yes. Didn't want anybody to panic.
I was freaking out.
Yeah.
I was
And
a little bit myself. Yeah.
yeah. And then she's got these buttons that will link to her um different social sites. So this is a one sheet meant to create curiosity and begin to start the conversation. Now I'll show you my one sheet. Looks a little bit different. So I actually have a quote from an event organizer here. Um, I've got logos on what my clients I have spoken at. I have rates on at least two of these at the bottom. I think I'll show you another version where I actually don't include rates. And my speaker one sheet's now a little bit different because I do not I include travel and expense when I give you a price. So this no longer applies. Depends on how you want to do it. You can say I'm 10K or 5K, but it doesn't include travel and expense. If you're at 5,000, you may want to do that or bump it up to 6 and say it's included. We'll talk about that when we talk about pricing. But you can see it's very brief. So it is a title and one or two lines, enough so that they know exactly what I'm going to cover and it makes them want to know more. And so that's what I want you to think about as you're filling out your one sheet. Your bio, super short, y'all. This is not your formal bio. I like having a tagline and then just one or two lines here that start to give an introduction to who you are and what you do. So very, very short. Needs to be readable. Absolutely needs to be one page. I always have speakers ask me, can I make my speaker one sheet 3 pages? I'm like, that would be a 3 sheet. And no, you need it to be on one page because guess what? An event organizer wants one sheet. Who is this person? What does she talk about? Oh, yeah, I'm kind of interested in these topics. I think I'll reach out to her. Now, the thing that I sometimes do different, I don't always put rates. So I've got my LinkedIn pulled up and I do want to show you what I mean by that. So if I go down here, these are things I have linked to my profile. And I've got a one sheet in here. And I want to show you another option. So instead of having my rates at the bottom, I decided to have additional, I think this is like highlighted, but additional talks and workshops. And I just listed the titles. And the reason I chose that for LinkedIn is I didn't want to get counted out of the conversation because they didn't have the budget. Because there's ways that you can finesse to get the value. So I just decided, okay, for LinkedIn, I want it to look like this. So they see what I talk about and they know what my other topics are. Because the key is get the conversation, right? And so lots of different ways that you can use a speaker one sheet. So you'll find both of those examples here. If you want to take a look at the one where I've got, you're like, I kind of don't want to put pricing. I want to put talks. You can find that on my LinkedIn site. I am going to show you the template next. Um, but first, I want to share with you a couple of ways I use the one sheet and then ask you what questions you have before we jump into the template. So obviously I posted on LinkedIn. Right now I have a flip book about my speaking at the bottom of my email, but I have put as a bottom, you can click on this and see my one sheet. Sometimes when you're doing calls for speakers, they'll have a space for additional content. I'll always pop my one sheet in there, the one with the additional talk titles. When I'm doing outreach to people either on LinkedIn that I know or to previous people that I've worked with or people who've talked to me about coming in, I attach my one sheet. So there's lots and lots of ways that you can use that one sheet. Before I jump into the template and your homework, I just kind of want to pause and see what questions you have. Thoughts?
I have a comment, and
Yeah.
that is that I'm talking to myself as we're going through this because the last time creating the speaker one sheet was daunting and a bit overwhelming. I realize now that just do it. There's this audience, it doesn't have to be perfect, and getting over the barrier of entry to just getting something out there and getting something done was a mistake I made. So I don't know if that's helpful to the other two people or not, but that was a mistake I made the last time. So, this is getting started, as you say on the slide. And so, yeah. So that's a head talk I'm having with myself. I just thought I'd share it out loud.
I love it. And I appreciate you sharing that, Dorinda. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And y'all may not use it for 2 months, right? But at least if you start it this week and then over the next couple weeks, just kind of continue to refine. When you have the opportunity or you're about ready to use it, you'll be like, oh God, I'm so glad I did that work. I'm so glad I got that started. I just realized I shared just a portion of my screen. So now I want to share the whole desktop. And I'm going to show you in the guides and templates. So you've got this, right? Speaker one sheet. So you're going to click on it and then you're going to click use template for new design. And this is what the template looks like. So I'm actually going to go into Canva because I went ahead and clicked it and now it's here. So this is just your basic template. What you're going to do, you're going to, first of all, nobody wants these hideous colors. And so you're going to change the colors. And if you're not used to it, the Canva tutorial will help, but I'm going to show you a couple of things here. Shoot, this thing is in my way. This lovely button. Okay. So like if I click here and then I click on the color, I actually have a couple of brand templates saved, but let's see. I actually want my speakers connection template. So I could say I want this green and I want all these pinks to go to green and it'll change them. I may say this purple guy, I want all the purple guys to go to this orange and I'm going to change all. So it's pretty easy to change colors. I will say the one thing that people tend to miss is this purple shading around these boxes. You'll want to make sure you change that. And then depending on what colors you have, you may need to change the font to white down here as well. So change your colors, and then you'll want to upload an image of you and just slide it over into this spot for a picture. So I'll see, this always happens to me. I go to do it and it's supposed to be easy and then it doesn't. But I promise you, there we go. I kind of had to hover over it. You can double click it if you need to move it around. It's not quite right. And then you've got your colors and your image. And then you just begin to fill this guy out, right? And so I'm going to blow this up. And I have a little guidance here for you. You should have a strong opening sentence. Keep it short and to the point. You know, what is it about you that makes you special? And then just a couple of things that are most interesting as it relates to your speaking topics. Here you will add links, and my biggest coaching is delete anything where you're not active, because the last thing you want is an event organizer to go, oh, she's got an Instagram. You know, well, Carla's talking about her dog and she hasn't posted in 5 months. That's probably not going to help me out. We are going to talk about LinkedIn throughout the program. It's going to be really important that you have a LinkedIn presence and that you're talking about your area of thought leadership, you're posting when you have events, because either event organizers will find you on LinkedIn, they'll get your one sheet and they'll go to LinkedIn, or they'll get your calls for speakers and they'll go to LinkedIn. They are going to check out your LinkedIn profile. So be active, be building your brand. We'll talk about that more later. If you've only got a Facebook personal page, delete this. You don't want people going to look at your personal stuff. I don't even think Twitter, you'd have to change that to X now. But wherever you're active in building a brand, that those are the only social media buttons I would recommend that you add. The cool thing is I've got in Canva where my one sheet is multiple one sheets. So once you get it built once, all you've got to do is come up here and click the duplicate. So now I've got my original. Maybe I put pricing on this one, and this one I just want to have talk titles. Maybe I got a cool lead on a new event and I need to change my talk titles and descriptions just a little bit. And then I save that one. And when I create my next one, I duplicate. So what you're going to find is with all of your speaker content, you'll have different people that want different things. Save it. Save copies, make duplicates, because now you're building that portfolio. But for homework, I just want you to work on your speaker one sheet and get your one sheet as far as you comfortably can this week, knowing that you're going to continue to refine it. And when you're ready, go ahead and click this share, download it as a PDF. And if just a little tip, if you do have one with multiple pages, you would just, unselect and say, yeah, I just want to download page one. Download that speaker one sheet PDF, pop it in the Facebook group. And don't be afraid. People there are super kind. They're lovely. They're very supportive. And I've had people say, hey, I only got the top part done. Could y'all please give me feedback on what you think about, just the way I've set up the header so far? That's perfectly fine. So building that speaker one sheet is going to be your at least getting that draft started is your homework for this week. Most of the template, most of the things you'll build, you will build in Canva, your proposal, your additional resource documents, your guides, which we'll go through in the coming weeks. There's a few things that I have Word templates for, but most of them will be in Canva. thoughts about your speaker one sheet or questions about building it? All right, y'all got to talk to me now. So Dory, oh, you're on mute there, gal. Talk to me,
I mean,
sister.
I no, I'm excited about doing it. I like being creative. I love Canva, so I'm actually excited about digging in and doing
Yay,
it.
yay.
Yeah.
And have some fun with it. Have some fun with the topics. Think about your expertise. Like I know you said you do hypnotherapy, so maybe there's one like, hypnotherapy for young adults. Maybe there's how to use hypnotherapy to change your mindset. Maybe there's like what could some things that you already really know and have deep expertise in that you could talk about? What could those things look like? Lisa,
I'm
thoughts?
excited. My challenge will be I want to create so many of them.
And you can. I
Right.
have tons of them. Let me see.
Yeah.
I'll show you. Let me see what I have.
Yeah. This can be a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. I'm going to go back home, and sometimes my content's kind of, I don't know about you guys. The one thing I will say, if I could talk to the lovely people at Canva, I would say sometimes stuff is hard to find in here.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, so speaker one sheet. Okay, I actually used it to create a coaching package. I have, so I have this one that's got four of them. I've got this one that's by itself. So yeah, I've got several different versions of my one sheet. So 100% you'll end up like with multiple versions. But the thing I didn't do right in the beginning is I would create one and then I would change that one and be
Mhm.
like, oh, wait, I think I need that one. Maybe I have it in a PDF. It just was a mess. So now I just copy, copy, copy. And then that way I always have all the different versions.
I love that. I would never have thought of that. I would have been doing the same, like, and
Yeah,
reinventing the wheel every time and getting frustrated. So
exactly. Or, the other thing I did, I thought I'd be really smart and duplicate and then just change the name, which is why you see I have like four files with one sheets because then you can't easily pull them in. So it's like just have one Canva file and then just copy them down. And you can have as many that way as you want.
I love
Other
that.
thoughts about homework?
Has anybody used Gamma?
I don't even know what that is, Dorinda.
It's it's sort of AI marries Canva and has a baby.
Really?
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, I have not.
Mine, it's got the templates and so on and so forth, but with AI assist in it. My niece, who is in public, I've got to figure it out more, but she's in public relations and does a lot of proposals. And she said, and she showed me one of her proposals that blew my socks off.
Oh,
And
that's
she said what
cool.
took her typically a week took her less than an hour.
You
And
says Gamma?
Gamma, GAMMA, and you can get a free trial. So, yeah,
That is
it's,
cool.
yeah. Um, just I think some of these things are coming out so fast, but when I see one and I see somebody that's used it, it intrigues me more than just getting another blurb advertisement. But it was very powerful.
Oh, that's super
Yeah,
cool.
check it out.
Love it. All right, so here's what we've got for homework, and it's in that first tab, homework for week one. Uh, Loosely decide what you want your speaker business to look like. You've got the your speaking business guide. Just start jotting down elements of what you think you would include in your talk and begin drafting a working title for your talk that knowing that it's probably going to change through the program. And then create your first draft of your speaker one sheet. And this you're going to continue to develop throughout the program. Like we haven't even talked about pricing yet. So you're like, I don't know what to put for pricing. That's fine. So that is the homework for this week. So that is really the content I have for you. What questions do you have or thoughts? And if no questions, we'll wrap it up about 10 minutes early.
I do have one more. I'm sorry, Lisa, go ahead. Oh, I do have one more thought, and that is I'm seeing more and more programs on social media that are sign up for a 6 week program on, I'm just going to pick something, sourdough bread baking.
Yep.
Here's the 6 week curriculum. And they basically lay out 6 workshops. And instead of charging $3,500, they charge 35. And of course, they're hoping to get, 1,000 people sign up for it. Have you delved into that or thought about that or had anybody work on that? Because, I'm seeing more and more people going that route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. So here's what I have. I have online courses on Udemy, and it's pretty much that model. It is low entry volume. The other thing is it's like LinkedIn Learning in that they have Udemy for Business licensing. And so if a business signs up for it, people can get it as long as your course is in there. So it's a model. I make about $500 a month. Well, no, now they changed the model, so probably 450 a month. Um, and it's not live and there's no feedback. There's very little feedback in any kind of work that they do. So it is a model. It works well for people that have a large audience that they're not going to be investing a whole lot of their personal time and where there's a lot of people doing it. So sourdough bread is a great example. For me, so this course I would never do that way because of the amount of value, because of
Yeah.
the amount of time it takes me to do these Zoom calls, any feedback, keep the Facebook group going, all of those things. So I do think it is a good model for some things, and it's one that I use for my online courses. Um, if you don't have an audience ready to buy your 6 week online sourdough bread
Bread
making
making.
class, you're not going to make any money at it. So if you don't have an audience ready who you've already curated and cultivated, who want what you're creating with high demand, then if you don't have that, you might sell one or two classes. So you've done all this work and you've made, $70. If you do have a strong community who really wants it and is waiting for you to develop it, then you can make some good money doing that.
So I've seen more and more influencers doing that
Yeah, they have the community.
because first they start with the community and
That's
then they
right.
go out. So there's a one that I've been following, which is very, very short. It's an influencer, very, very short videos. It's Kick-Ass is the name of her thing. And she started out with really short videos on making high protein, low fat, low carb, and showing her 6 pack. Very quickly, then, what's that, Lisa?
No, you're fine.
Okay, but very quickly, then she offered a $35 cookbook,
Yeah.
and it hit like thousands of people, and there's nothing there for her to produce but the cookbook's worth it. It's got like 20 recipes in it that are
Yeah,
great.
she's got the audience.
She could have the audience first. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
really good advice. Yeah. Sort of
Can I also
diverging, but
speak to that?
Yeah.
pardon?
Yeah, I was going to say something about I'm trained in human design, and we've been doing this survey with people about how they want to build their business. And we've got over 100 responses from this. 90% of people want to build a 7-figure business. They want to work 2 to 3 days a week, and they want to
Don't
do
we
it by
all?
recording a course, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's the problem with the online course world. is there's only a 2 to 3% completion rate of online courses. And if all you want to do is sell online courses and that's your end goal, that's okay. But if you want to use your online course to have people to continue to work with you, if they don't have that great experience of finishing the course with you, then they don't see the value in you. So I think there's a time and place, like Carla has said, in a certain type of niche. But if you're looking to get, paid from the stage, that's where you start building your audience. And then you can move into something like that.
Yeah, good idea. And Lisa, I'd like to talk to you offline about the service you offer.
Sure.
I love that. I love the connections.
Yeah.
And y'all, I love my online courses. They make about
Mhm.
$450 a month. They're
That's
in
right.
Udemy for Business. But you know what I use them for? I use them to sell my speaking gigs.
Mhm.
And
So
so
that's kind of where, yeah.
I will say to an event organizer, hey, I'll come in and speak about change management for you. And oh, by the way, I have this online course. I'll give it to your participants for free. And
Mm.
they're like, oh, value, so much value, right? But I've already created it and it's already sitting out there making money in Udemy for Business. So it's making me money. And you're right, Lisa, it shows credibility. And I have some insane numbers in my Udemy course that I could show you. Like, I don't know, I'm gonna show you guys just because it does build credibility. And so I used it strategically for a completely different reason than most people use their online courses. So I'm going to show you again, super transparent about anything y'all want to know. This is my Udemy and I track minutes because I get paid by Udemy
Mhm.
for Business by the minute. So I typically any month will have anywhere from 26 to 18,000 minutes. Um,
Awesome.
I have, so this is where the credibility piece comes in. I've got, oh, this is not what I want to show you because this is not the cool stuff. Let me show you this dashboard. So revenue over time, I've made $27,000, but we're talking about since like 2019. So it's not as impressive as it sounds like it is. But here's what's cool. Here's what I can tell um, event organizers. I can tell them that I have 23,000 students in 144 countries and that my content has been translated into 26 languages.
Wow.
So, and it's like I don't do anything to promote it at all because it's in Udemy for Business. And I don't make a ton of money on it, right? I mean, I make, you can see, I'll show you my revenue. Revenue. I make And this is low because the Udemy for Business money hasn't hit yet. So I made $45. I can talk to you all about Udemy if you guys want to know more about it. But I made $45 of people just buying my courses. The rest of my money comes from Udemy for Business. So I make anywhere from I think the lowest is 380, the high is 478. I've made as much as 1,000. For some reason, I blew up in India like 2 years ago. Weirdest thing I've ever seen. My husband swears there's a statue of me somewhere in India. Like he goes, we got to go find the gold statue, right? Because all of a sudden my numbers went through the roof. Um, and so, but I use it strategically to say, hey, I've got these courses. It's translated in all
Credibility.
these language. It's this, it's that. Yeah, it's credibility. And it's 450 bucks a month, so it's nothing to sneeze at. But it's the exact strategy you were talking about, Drenda. The only reason it works is because I'm in Udemy for Business, and that was tricky getting in there. And so when businesses say, hey, I want to buy a subscription for my people, every minute that their people watch one of my videos, I get paid for. So if I write up a compelling um, here's what the content and their people go click it and watch it, I get paid for every minute they watch it. So yes, it can work. You're not going to get rich from it, probably, unless you have an influencer's audience. And it can be very helpful in your strategy on how you build your business.
So I'm equating it to what you hear a lot is I want to do a speaking engagement. I'm writing a book. I'll put it on the back table. Don't intend to make any money from the book.
That's right.
But fewer and fewer people are excited about a book. I can't tell you how many of my nieces who are, sub 30, they're like, book, you know, it's people don't read anymore.
Yeah,
That's a very in
it's fine.
that's a very inaccurate generalization, but I think you guys get what I mean. And so this is another way of saying, yes, I have a book and I have content that you can get in bite-sized chunks on these other
That's
places.
right. That's right. And a book can help. Like, you don't have to have a book to be a speaker. Just the fact that you have one can help you earn more money. And if it's related specifically to your talk, you can do an upsell with the book. Say, I'll give everyone in the, and event organizers like it. They just do.
Yeah.
Quick question, Carla.
Yeah.
Um, you said you were going to tell us how much you made
Yeah.
speaking.
Yeah. Do you want to
Do
know?
we? Yeah, I do. I want to
Okay.
know.
So I will tell you this year so far. Now, remember, I have a lot of different levers that I pull for speaking, and I don't want to be a road warrior. I mean, I like going out to speak. If I could do it every other month, I would be very happy. So I pulled my stats. So far this year, I have made $17,500. I have $20,000 booked. So that's $37,500 either made or booked. I have one speaking engagement pending. That's $1,000 gig. Now it's a local gig. I drive down the street, I do it, and I come back. And so this is just 2025. So here we are sitting here at June. I will book other gigs. Typically, I'll make between $40,000 and $50,000 a year just from speaking. And then I have, get paid from the stage, all paid to be here. I do strategic change consulting. I do strategic planning workshops. I have on the Speakers Connection website, y'all will see Ann and I work together to place speakers. We can talk all about that another time, but if we place a speaker for their engagement we place them for, I make 25, we make 25% of their speaking fee. And then if they book other gigs, cool, go book other gigs. I have my online courses. I'm sure I'm missing something.
You
But
do contracting for some
yes, I do.
corporations.
I do contracting and I speak for, and I am also an executive instructor for ProSci. So, um, I don't want speaking to be my whole income. It is a life I don't want to have. I love speaking. I'm going to, I was in Lexington last month. That was a $7,500 gig. I'm going to Pennsylvania in August. That's an $8,500 gig. I'm going to California in October. That's a $5,000 gig. Strategically, it's for a woman I adore who I have done work for 5 years. She brings me to her summit every year. It's 30 minutes from my cousin's house, y'all, and I go on vacation with my cousin for 2 days while I'm there. There's lots of reasons I take different speaking gigs and an amount of money, but that's what I've got. I've got that booked. Oh, this one's fun. So I have a $1,000 virtual gig booked. I have a $250 virtual gig booked. This is the fun one. You never know when you plant seeds where it's going to land. I went on a walk, I'm not even kidding, 3 years ago, and I had my headset in, and I don't usually like to talk to people when I'm walking, but I came around the corner and there was this woman, and it was awkward not to say hi, right? Because we were walking at the same pace. So I took my earbuds, I said, "Hey, how you doing?" We kind of started talking. She goes, "What do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a speaker and a workshop facilitator." And she goes, "Oh, what do you speak on?" And then she's like, our company brings in speakers sometimes. I said, well, let's connect on LinkedIn real quick because I have my phone with me. So we connect on LinkedIn. 3 years later, she sends me a note and says, "Hey, Carla, I don't know if you remember me. We met on a walk." Y'all, she's bringing me in to speak at her company in, I don't remember if it's September, October, $4,500. And I just got to drive down the road. I'll do the talk and I'll come home because I talked to her 3 years ago. So this is what I'm saying. You're going to sow seeds today. You're going to talk to people. You're going to get your LinkedIn profile going. You're going to share your speaker one sheet and submit calls for speakers. And there'll be a moment when you're like, why am I doing all this? I'm not getting any calls. And all of a sudden, somebody from 3 years ago is going to call. Somebody's going to bring you in. Oh, I saw you speak, and you get referred over here. This is how you build a brand in a business.
I
Thank you,
think
Carla.
that's one of the values that I realized is it's not just getting your brand out there, it's getting your own competency and being able to talk about yourself besides what is it that you do? Yeah. And then
And Anne will tell you when she's on, she loves, I met Anne as a speaker. And she always tells people in the cohort, the content you're creating is so much better than what I get from other speakers. And that's part of building that confidence, right? You're like, I got a kick-ass one sheet. I got a great proposal. Oh my gosh, I've got my bio. I know the things I can ask for. So your package is done. And now you can go market it and have the conversation. And the speaker looks at it and goes, oh, yeah, I'm going to have to pay this person. Look, that she actually knows what she's doing here.
right.
And so it also helps you get a better speaker fee.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be the same talk if I wrote it on the back of a post-it note, right? And handed it to somebody. But the fact that you have a professional package is really going to help.
Yeah.
Anything else? Questions, thoughts? Like I said, y'all can ask me anything. Stupid thing.
Thank you.
Oh gosh, you are so welcome. Um, you got your homework. You know what to do. If you get stuck, let me know. Direct message me. I'm happy to get on a Zoom call, and I'll look forward to seeing your one sheets. And
And
Thank
Lisa,
you.
reach out.
yeah, 100%. Give me a call. All right, everyone. Video will be posted by end of day tomorrow, and I'll see you next Saturday.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend.
Bye, everybody.
You're welcome. Bye.